You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. This is episode 433. No, 438. My apologies. In this episode, we're talking Maryland men's basketball. But before we get into it, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. The men's NCAA tournament has already begun. At some point, when we get to round 32, that's when I'll break down, preview the remaining 32 teams. I thought I had a little bit more. I thought tomorrow, which is Friday, I thought all the games start Friday, but the women start tomorrow and the men started today. So, but I promise we'll break down those teams, so my apologies, but we will talk about on the men's side for sure. Maryland men's basketball plays tomorrow. They play Grand Canyon. The women play Saturday, Norfolk State. This video will go out tomorrow, and then the NFL mock draft, I'll have that up. And then we're going to do the same thing for the women, preview each as we get into the round 32, Sweet 16, and so forth, where that's how we're going to do for both sides for the men and women's tournaments, respectfully. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for the new subscribers. Thank you for the support you're giving me in this channel. Like I said, we are in the midst of doing a lot of things with the podcast. We're trying to get it right with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where you can listen to the podcast itself. We're trying to get everything caught up with uploads, so be patient with that as we get that done. We're trying to get some other stuff done, as we talked about in the last episode last night with Brenda Potts. This weekend, I have the opportunity to cover the Maryland basketball team as they take on Norfolk State via MarylandSportsBlog.com. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. And the first two games are home, and as the men are on Seattle. And then also too in this video, we're going to talk a little bit of something that involved with Coach Kevin Willard and the athletic director, Mr. Damon Evans. So let's get into it. Maryland men's basketball. Ready for this moment. I cannot believe it, but it's here. They are officially heading to the NCAA tournament. They were given the 4th seed. Haven't had something like this in quite some time. Most of this roster have a taste of March Madness, and facing a Grand Canyon team that was there last year. They won as well as the women as well. The men won 26 games this year. They were 13-3 in the Western Atlantic. They've won the last 4 of his last 5 conference tournament appearances, and they've made it to the tournament. But then that, if you remember, they beat St. Mary's. There was a 5th seed last year. That was their first program in their history, and then they lost to Alabama because they actually they had led, and then the last 5 minutes just didn't have any answers. Coach Drew, he's kept kept that roster for the most part. Still got the 4 seniors that were there last year, and again, they have the size, they have the postseason experience, and they're not your typical 13th seed. Jacoby Coles, last year he actually came from TCU. I followed him a little bit. He's actually been their focal point of their offense, almost averaging 15 a game. He's actually just won. I believe it's him and I want to say it's Duke Brennan that may actually be the 2 starters, but they've been consistently. One thing, if you pay attention, they got the size. They got a couple guards. One is a grad. He's a 6'7" guard. He was what was it? I think it was Tyron Grant Foster. He was actually player of the year this year because he averaged 20 points. That was last year, and I know he's coming off a injury. But it's going to be interesting to see how they look. But one thing I will say when you're looking at this Antelopes roster defensively, we got to match up against them, and I think that's something we're going to watch. As Maryland comes out in that first quarter, for sure. Those first 10 minutes will tell me everything I need to know about how the game will look. Grand Canyon is a program that they are in the top 15. They're 11th actually, and giving and forcing steals, and they're somewhere around 17th, 18th in blocks per game. Maryland, we were in the Big Ten tournament. I thought we were really good with ball security. So it's going to be interesting to see how offensively we plan for that. So I expect be a lot of screens. I expect the ball movement to be very active. There's going to be active hands. I expect them to play zone a little bit to kind of throw off the cohesion of our offense. But for a team that is well experienced, they kind of took a step back from last year. They're not the best 3-point shooting team. And yeah, I mean, they're close to almost shooting 30%. And, compared to us where we're shooting almost 35, we're actually at 35%. So it's going to actually see how we look as a cohesive, how both teams will look from behind the arc. Grand Canyon also too, when I looked at the tape, is they have a bench. I think any team that has a bench that can contribute, whether you're giving the player 10 minutes, whether you're giving a player 15, whether it's just a couple minutes, you will win basketball games. Maryland does not have that. There are 8 players that average more minutes than our bench, and that is Deshaun Harrison-Smith. And most of them all score at least close to almost 7 points a game. I'm curious to see how our backcourt will look against them because, like I said, Grant Foster is 6'7", and they got another guard who's 6'4". I'm just curious to see how matchup-wise Coach Willard will defensively plan for those guys for sure. But Jacoby Gillespie, he is our best defensive guard, but in this kind of matchup, no, it won't work. So we got to figure that out respectfully. I'm not saying he can't be out there, but you got to figure out, you got to put a wing, somebody that can slow them down. And same thing, I expect us to kind of go zone. I kind of go big at times, but I also kind of see we can go at times small ball. And then, our front court, Derek Queen and Julian Reese. Juju was obviously, when we beat them in West Virginia, he was our best player, and actually did well against the now then Brandon Miller when he was at Alabama, and then we lost that game, unfortunately. some Juju's foul trouble. I think if we looking back on that game, if we done some things, made some adjustments, I think we could have had them where we wanted them for sure. And so it'll be interesting to see how he looks, but I think he'll be fine for sure. But I'm excited for this team. I think this team has done all the right things. I think the run they made in the Big Ten tournament and the way they just looked, they were right there to get to their first Big Ten championship game in program history. That would have been it. There's still a lot to play for. I think they're prepared. Derek Queen, for a freshman, making an all Big Ten team for sure. I know he's ready for this moment. So it's just going to be interesting to see how we went on the glass, because I thought we did that pretty well in the Big Ten tournament, how we match up on the rebounds, limiting the fouls. We got to take also good shots against a sizable front court. So if we do all those things, I'm going to say Maryland will defeat Grand Canyon. I'm going to go along the lines of 67-59.
Guaranteed.
I just think that Maryland, I think, as a fourth seed, I think has something to play for. While this is a Grand Canyon team that has experience, but as you've seen this evening, we've seen some teams already upset. So, they're on the road. They're in Seattle. They just got to take it all in. I think they have what it takes to make a deep run. I think the fellas will be okay. Watching them this season, at times, we've had some heartbreaking losses. Obviously the buzzer beater against Michigan, that stung. But I think these guys are ready. I think they're prepared. I think that Coach Willard's going to have them ready for sure. And then also, too, more importantly, you kind of have to tip your hat off to Coach Willard, because to have 3 All Big Ten first team honors has been something. Jacoby Gillespie, Juju Reese, and Derek Queen, I thought all did really well. As we called our crab 5, Jacoby, he led the Terps in 3-pointers, assists, and steals. And actually, his 3-pointers are actually in the top 5, 5th for the most in single season for Maryland. So ring your hat on that stat. And then, you look at a guy like Derek Queen. I just think he just put together a great freshman year. It's 14 double-doubles, average 16 a game. And, I'm hoping he comes back for another year, but if not, I already know he's going to go out to the NBA. So, but for sure, he's just had one hell of a season, and I'm proud of him. And Juju Reese, I think, has been the glue of this team. He's almost averaging a double-double, averaging 13 and 9 a game. He's been arguably our most consistent player. Again, same thing, 14 double-doubles. So I think he's going to be, him and Derek Queen, I think, are the keys to the Terps making a deep run in the tournament. So that's really all I have for Maryland at this moment. But I am going to transition into our next topic, which will be our one final thought. But before we get into that, let's get into a little commercial break. Be right back.
thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
All right, the one final thought. I'm in this episode, and I can actually not believe this is really happening before tournament time. But as some of us know, as Maryland fans, those that cover the team, Coach Kevin Willard is in the midst of contract negotiations. And today, that kind of, I wouldn't say to the 180, it is reported that he will stay. And he kind of called out the athletic director, Mr. Damon Evans. And he wants to see some fundamental changes to the program in terms of NIL, in terms of making sure that he has enough resources to make sure his program succeeds. And to see that and to hear that in the media availability, I'm going to play you the video because I felt a couple, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So just give me 1 second. A little slow for me. My apologies. All right, here we go. So this was media availability for most for the men. They've started today, and if anything, what happens when you cover the NCAA tournament is you have the interview with the player, and then the coaches, and then the selected players, and then the locker rooms, and then all that. So here is our Maryland head coach, Kevin Willard. Make sure I have the sound. Yep, we're great.
He's probably going to SMU, so it's kind of tough to negotiate with somebody that's maybe not here. But I need to make fundamental changes to the program. That's what I'm focused on right now. That's why probably a deal hasn't got done, because I want to see I need to see fundamental changes done. I want this program to be great. I want it to be the best in the country. I want to win a national championship, but there's things that need to change. When you're at a place for 3 years and you put your heart and soul into it, you kind of sit there and say, okay, wait a second, for us to be really successful, X, Y, and Z needs to change. And first and foremost, I need to make sure that we are where we are with NIL, and rev share is not where we've been with NIL the past 2 years. We've been one of the worst, if not lowest, in the NIL in the last 2 years. So that's first and foremost. I also have to make a fundamental change where I can do the things that I want to do with my program. I wanted to spend an extra night in New York this year to celebrate Christmas with my team, and I was told that we can't do that because it's too expensive. So I don't know how we can be a top tier program and I can't spend one extra night in New York because it's too expensive. So there's fundamental things I'm fighting for my team and my program. It's not so much about me. I want to make sure that whatever we do going forward, we're successful, and we're successful at the highest rate. So I'm confident that we'll get things done. It's a little difficult right now. I'm not going to lie. But I'm confident that no matter who we're negotiating with at the end of the day, this program is going to be in a great spot. And that's really my focus, is this tournament, this team, and this program.
Mm-hmm.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
Game over, yeah!
Why isn't that playing?
Game over, yeah!
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
My overall thoughts on this. So, first and foremost, for a little background, Coach Willard and Maryland as a school, they've been negotiating his contract. They want to make him one of the top 10 highest paid coaches. Last time I saw the deal was around $50 million. He didn't pull a Coach Wade leaving McNeese. Well, the way how that happened, Will McNeese leaving, but he was very honest. When a coach comes out and says, I couldn't even stay an extra night in New York to celebrate Christmas because we didn't have the money. This is after playing Syracuse. That's a problem. First and foremost, Damon Evans has been the athletic director since 2017. Okay. Damon Evans came in, he hired especially Mike Loxley as our head coach and Kevin Willard as our head coach for basketball. I will say that the revenue sharing has been unfair. In fairness, when Mike took the job, Mike Loxley came at a position at a point where, he was dealing with an aftermath of the death of Jordan McNair, may he rest in peace, and kind of rebuilding a program that was deemed toxic and trying to just build a culture where you're resetting and you're trying to get guys to buy in. Mike Loxley has won 3 bowl games, but we cannot win the big games. Here is Coach Willard, who's been out here been 3 years. I cannot believe that. He's won 63 games and has gotten to 2 NCAA tournaments. He coached at Iona and Seton Hall. Like, he's made before here 7 times in a Big East championship. I just think that for me, I mean, and they're also too getting a new facility. We are getting the new facility. I have seen it, but my thing is, because this current deal lasts through 2029. So basically, they're just trying to work the deal where he's here a little bit longer. But the problem is, I'm all for making sure all our athletes are paid. Now, when he comes and said this, and Damon might leave for SMU, I have a little issue with that because the timing of this is coming out before not only the men, but the women also are preparing for the play at home. And he's basically saying, until I see these things, I'm not putting no pen to paper. And I agree there do need to be some fundamental changes. I'm use Brenda Freeze as an example. Her program has been highly successful. They've gone to now 15 straight NCAA tournaments. And last year, outside of Jakia Brown Turner, she couldn't even get a point guard in the portal. But here is a football program that's getting most of the revenue when it comes to NIL, and they can't beat the good teams. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just being honest. Like, if he does leave, which I doubt he won't. I mean, today I think it was kind of reinforced that he's not leaving. But when the coach comes out and says those things, that's a problem. I think that's a bad look on the athletic director. That's a bad look on the school. I did took some notes here. Maryland as a whole has $20.5 million in revenue share funds. 13 of that goes to the football team. 4 to 5 million goes to the men. $1 million goes to the women's basketball team.
Bullshit.
I'm going to say that again. Out of the $20.5 million that's shared, 13 of that goes to the football team. $4 to $5 million goes to the men's team, and $1 million goes to the women's basketball team. That's a problem. You've got to fix the NIL. I think we, as a school, I don't think it has anything to do with Maryland. I think Maryland is a good school. It's you're not doing enough in terms of NIL. There's no way in heck a basketball program should have to work with $4 to $5 million. If you're trying to win and you're trying to get all the best players and have all the things you need to be successful, like $1 million for the women's basketball team, Lord knows how much money the lacrosse, the soccer, the baseball team, the softball teams get. But I mean, the budget and the revenue shares, I mean, that's a slap in the face. I mean, if you did the math, right, 20.5 divided by 3, everybody should get $6.83 million. But I know that won't fly with some coaches, but somebody has to take accountability for that. And that starts with the athletic director, and that starts with also those in athletic as well behind the scenes. You've got to make sure that your programs have what it takes to be successful. Now, and also too, I don't like how, again, it's timing of all this. Like, we do need to make some fundamental changes. You know, if you want to be one of the best programs in this nation, you do need to make some changes. In Maryland, as a football and basketball school, and we excel at lacrosse and softball and soccer for sure, but we do have to make some changes. A head coach should not come out, and Maryland has been a successful school in terms of sports. Maryland has a national championship. A head coach should not come out and saying he needs more money. Like the last 2 years, that can't happen. That's a guy who's frustrated. That's a guy who wants to see his program thrive. He sees the potential here. This is arguably a good time for Maryland basketball. But how you work on the revenue sharing, there needs to be some changes. And if Mr. Evans leaves for SMU, all the best to him. But I can say that whoever the new AD is, they're going to have to understand that if you want your programs to be successful, you know, it's not just catering to one program. You want to make sure all your programs can be successful. Any school that has a football, basketball, baseball team can be successful. Some things are a choice. And the results kind of show as well. Like if you're giving $13.5 million to a football team, but they can't beat the top tier teams, that's to me, that's a problem. Again, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just giving you a perspective of that there's a disconnect. And do I think he's going to go to Villanova? No, because unfortunately, Coach Neptune got fired. They linked him with some other schools, but I think he is squarely focused on staying here. I think he wants to be here. He would have taken this job 3 years ago, and all of a sudden he wants out. I think he just wants to see some changes. And whether that's the athletic department or school administration, look, college basketball landscape's changed. This is not 2002. We're in 2025. And a coach needs those assurances. Hey, if I don't get this, I'm out the door. Just like in football, just like in free agents. If I don't get, I need these reassurances that this is going to get done. Okay, hey, we got you. I'm not mad at the guy for saying what he feels, and that's just where I'm at with it. My only issue is it's just the timing of this whole thing. I think it's kind of been messy on both sides, and you could tell that he's frustrated and he's upset. And again, like, this program has a chance to be great and do some great things, but it shouldn't have to come down to this. Then. Because I saw Mr. Evans at the Sunday selection thing, so this is all new to me. I knew that the extension thing had the talks had stalled, but I know that they both were kind of in the news when Coach Willard talked about the schedule, and he goes on, not Coach Willard, but Mr. Evans goes on 105.7 The Fan and kind of downplays and calls out Coach Willard about the schedule. I mean, in fairness, which was a not easy schedule. I mean, when you're playing 3 games in 5 days and, traveling and other things like that, it is tough, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm hoping that this can be resolved. I don't think this is a distraction for anybody. I just think the timing is not the best. And whatever happens, Maryland as a school will be okay. Because before Coach Willard got here, the support has been mildly inconsistent. Again, I use Coach Freeze as an example. Her program has been successful. This year, they started off winning 13 games. And when they were during that winning streak, half the support you didn't really see at times. Like, same thing with the men. The men, since now you're seeing, you got to be consistent with support. It's also the fans. Men's football team, yes, has 3 bowl games, as I stated, and they're under their pocket in the last few years. But you do have. It's also you got to put your support behind these programs. That matters, and yeah. That's my one final thought. I apologize if I went on a little winded there, but I'm a little disappointed in how this kind of transpired right before the big game tomorrow. So go Terps. I'm still behind this school 100%, but I'm hoping that there is a resolve in this and that both sides are in the best interest, move forward for the sake of the program. If Damon Evans leaves for SMU, best of luck. But there definitely does need to be some fundamental changes at College Park. I will agree to that. And the results show that because, if you want to be successful, if you got successful programs, you're going to have to invest and say, hey, and fight and say, hey, they need more of this. It's just plain and simple. So, but with that being said, that's going to conclude this episode. Be tuned in, ladies and gentlemen, for future episodes. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Episodes 439, 440, 441. They will be out. Brendan Potts will be back on. We preview for the women. We'll reach out to Sean Spencer. We're going to talk for him with the men. And then we're also going to talk about some NFL free agency as well at some point. But please consider hitting that subscribe button. And please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at @NathanSnell. You can also follow my work at MarylandSports.com. All the links will be in the description below. You can also follow some of my work on Team NBS Media and the other great content creators there. But until then, I hope you all have a great night. Stay safe. And thank God it is almost Friday. This is your host, Nathan Snell, signing off. Peace. Stay up.
If ever you find yourself in need of someone you can count on, call on me. I will be the shoulder on.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you. If ever you find yourself in need of someone you can count on, call on me. I will be the shoulder on which you can lean. 'Cause I'm always here to listen, to be the one that you can count on. Pick you up when you start to fall. And if you ever need me, girl, all you have to do is call. I'll be the one to dry your tears, the one who will chase away your fears. And I'll go that extra mile to see you smile again. Whenever